Hi there, it's Janet and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this cute Easter card. I used two Cricut die cuts using my Cricut Access subscription and my Cricut Explorer. The first is this Easter Blessings die cut. It's a two-layer cut made with black cardstock and pink glitter cardstock. The glitter paper is from the Glitter Brights cardstock stack by Die Cuts with a View. The bunny is also from Cricut. It's not obvious from the video, but I flocked this little guy with gray flocking powder. Flocking is a fun way to mimic fur on animals, and I'll show you how to use double-sided adhesive paper and a brayer so that the flocking is even and smooth. Now to finish this card, I adhered iridescent sequins, and I used a pearl accent for his eye, and then I finished off with some old school chalk shading around the edges of the mat, as you'll see around here. Now I also made this pretty pink double bow, and it's something you'll want to stick around for because I actually made this bow using, ta-da, a fork. That's right, I made the bow with a fork. This is a technique I didn't invent myself. I saw it on YouTube, I followed the directions, and I followed Handimania. I'll post a link to that along with all the die cut information, supplies, and sizes. So let's take a look in the inside. I put a piece of pink and white polka dotted cardstock, and again I chalked the edges for an aged look. I thought it would be nice to add some stamping to the inside of the card, so I added the little bunny and the sentiment to finish the card. So let's get started by showing the pieces needed for this project, and I'll put it together for you. So here are the pieces to this card. First, this is an A2 size card that's 4 1/4 by 11 inches folded in half. It's a landscape style, and on top of this there are two mats. There's a gray textured matte cardstock, which you can see here, and then a smaller pink one that's got a very slight pattern that I'm going to put on the top. Now the rabbit will be centered in the middle of the mats, and I'll show you how I flock it with this gray powder. The bunny is already prepped to accept the powder because I stuck a double-sided adhesive sheet over gray cardstock and then cut it out on the Cricut Explorer. Once it's flocked, I'm going to attach the sentiment as the focal point of the bunny. Then I'll make a ribbon for his neck and apply some finishing sequins. The first thing I'm going to do is apply shadow to the edges of the mats using pink and black chalks. Once that's done, I'll come back to show you how to apply the flock to the bunny. Okay, so now I'm going to apply adhesive to the mats and apply them to the card base. I'm using my ATG gun for this, and I'm sticking the pink mat to the gray one first, and then I'll apply those to the white card base to get the foundation of the card prepared. Okay, so moving on, I want to show you how to flock this bunny. To keep things neat, I'm bringing out a coffee filter. Coffee filters work well to contain glitters and flock when you're applying them. So to get started, I prep for the flocking by opening the jar and bringing out my paper brayer. I'll use the brayer to push the flock into the adhesive to get a nice even layer. Now I prefer to do a part of a large cut at a time when I flock, so I'll pull about 1/3 of the white backing paper off to reveal the double-sided tape. Apply the powder and rub it across the area with your fingers to get coverage everywhere. And then you can use the brayer to apply pressure to press the flocking into the paper and the adhesive. So you can see that I have a nice coating of flocking going on here. Very nice and smooth. Now you can continue to do this by peeling off more backing paper, applying powder, rubbing in with the brayer, and getting rid of the excess. When I first used flocking, I had a tough time with it. I didn't know how to use it, and I applied wet glue and sprinkled the flock on top. It didn't work out well, believe me. It was uneven and lumpy, and it didn't work. I watched some others apply it and figured out that for me, double-sided adhesive was the way to go. I think you would agree that the bunny is getting a nice, smooth, and even coat using the method I'm showing you here. And it's really very simple. I'm finishing this up now, and I'm super pleased with how nice he turned out. It's hard to pick up the flock on the video, but you can see it better when I hold it up to the plain cardstock that it was cut from. He's super soft and smooth, kind of like a real bunny. So I'm all ready now to apply the Easter Blessings die cut to the bunny. Now I want to show you how intricate this is. I'm always super impressed with how fine the Cricut Explorer can cut. You know, stamps are always nice to use, but sometimes a die cut expression like this can make a big impact, and I think it really works in this case. I apply this cut using wet glue, and my favorite is Scotch Quick Dry. I put it in a different bottle, however. I get these bottles from Amazon, and the reason I like them so much is that they have a narrow nozzle, which allows me to control the amount of glue coming out and where it's placed. And you can see here just how much control the application has here, and it makes such a difference for the smaller cuts. If you get too much glue on them, it'll seep out and it'll stain your paper, which is not a great look. Now once that is placed, I can apply the glue to the bunny and adhere it to the front of the card as well. And it's really starting to come together at this point. Next, I'm going to slow things back down and show you how to make the bow using a fork. This is a fun technique that I think you're going to enjoy. So stay with me and I'll show you how that's done. Okay, so I'm going to make this bow for you now. Like I said, I didn't come up with this idea. There's a lot of different demos on YouTube on this, but the one I learned was a particular method from Handimania. I'll have a link to their video in the description below. And I'm going to go fairly fast, so if you want to study how this is done, I recommend you go to Handimania's link for detailed instructions. Now, the first thing I do is weave the ribbon around the tongs from one side to another, weaving it in and out of each of the tongs like so. And once I get to the end, I turn it around and start heading back to the starting point. Again, weaving the ribbon through the tongs. And then turn it around and weave it through again. And one more time. And then finally, come on back through the tongs. Now what you're going to end up with is 2 loops on each side of the fork, like I'm showing here. And once you have that in place with each tail going off on opposite sides, you're ready for the middle. Now I'm using this nice thin glitter ribbon, and I'm putting it in the middle of the tongs at the bottom, and then I'll put some around the top, and from here I can then tie a knot in the middle. So I just go ahead and tie the knot and really pull on it tight. I want it to be secure. But before I do that, I'm going to move this ribbon from its holding place to the middle again of the fork, basically, so that the tail lays properly once I secure the knot. And you can see how it's created that bow on the back there. And once that's good and tight, I can double knot it and then slip it off. Okay, so I'm going to speed things back up again as I apply the bow to the rabbit. I use glue dots for the center of the bow, and then I apply more glue dots to the tail so that I can get a scrunchy look to the ribbon. To top it off, I'll also apply a small pink paper flower to the middle of the bow. And when we come back, I'll finish up this card. Okay, we're back, and I've applied these iridescent sequins and a pearl bead for his eye. For the inside of the card, I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. This is the Easter stamp set I used, and unfortunately I don't know who the manufacturer is of this. If you know, please leave a comment for me. I chose 2 stamps for this card. It's the Easter Sentiment and the cute little bunny. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this, and when I come back we'll be ready to look at the finished card. So here's our finished project. This card really turned out cute. I love the forked bow and the flocked rabbit. The flocking turned out perfectly. And if we look at it inside, we see the wishing you a happy Easter sentiment, and that kind of finishes the card off. Well, I hope you enjoyed this project. I'd appreciate it if you'd give me a big old thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Until next time, happy crafting!